So yeah, the movie starts with U.S. soldiers lollygagging. They're at a checkpoint. They're obviously confronted with some kind of potential terrorist activity, but everyone's being all goofy about it and completely incompetent and negligent. And so the Arab interpreter that's in their unit gets blown up because of it and dies. Now there were two standing where the explosion were. One was the Arab, the other was the U.S. soldier. No mention was made of the other U.S. soldier, only the Arab. Next, we have a pitiful display of the U.S. soldiers bending knee to Muslim terrorists because they can't do anything without going through this Muslim terrorist. And they're kissing his butt, they're begging him, they're throwing a bunch of money at him. The new interpreter overrides and ignores what the troop leader says. Basically, he's making secret deals in Arabic in a language nobody else understands. And naturally, this terrorist gets his way as he dictates terms to the U.S. soldiers. Horrendous scene. Not a fan. Next, we have the cavalry coming. They call for the cavalry. And so the soldiers, the unit, is exploring this bomb-making facility, which was well hidden. And they call in the reinforcement. But the reinforcement, which is called Quick Strike Team or something to that effect, is 15 minutes away. Basically forever away. And when they do show up on scene, lo and behold, everyone's all shot up, dead, and obliterated. All but two. The main character and the new Arab interpreter. Yeah. Next, we have the two lone survivors getting cornered, getting shot up by the terrorists that are hunting them down now. Except for, of course, the Arab interpreter. He comes out and he's running around only with a pistol, by the way, shooting at the terrorists with only a pistol, you know, as he's being oppressed because he can only carry a pistol. Anyway, and so, yeah, the troop leader now gets all shot up and he's practically on his deathbed. And so the Arab interpreter now removes his colors, let's say, his symbolism of U.S. loyalty, and goes back to his Arab garb in order to save this U.S. leader by carrying him through enemy territory. And naturally, he saves the day, which brings us to the next scene. About halfway in, the U.S. soldiers show up after this Arab yet again saves his captain. So now, when the U.S. soldiers show up, they're pointing guns at the Arab, the ally, the interpreter, and they're telling him, raise your hands, you know, and now they're treating him, you know, violently. No reason, no problem. They just show up and they start pointing guns at him. There's no explanation. It makes no sense in the story. It's out of context. In any context, even within itself, it makes no freaking sense. I mean, obvious, horrendous propaganda going on here that's beyond any reasonable rationale. And so now we have the typical white U.S. male being honored for surviving, while the Arab is being neglected, ignored, and he was left behind in the Middle East. And so now he's like trying to go through the proper channels to save the interpreter, to get him relocated, and naturally he's being stonewalled and he's having all kinds of problems doing it. And so now he has to use his own resources to go out and get this man who saved his life. And so now we go to the scene where he's hiring mercs, and guess what? Lo and behold, they're horrible people. They don't keep their word, and so he has to force them and shame them so they can keep their word. Even giving them money, which he doesn't have, but he makes them keep their word because they are liars. Of course, Islam, there's no lying. There's not the key there, right? I mean, first of all, hypocrisy much? Diabolically backward much? Absolutely. I mean, come on, give it a rest. Okay, and so now he's going to go hire these mercs on his own because he's not getting the help from the proper channels. And so he is saying goodbye to his family, and of course the wife is all angry at him because he's such a horrible person. This man, this white man, leaving his family again. How selfish of him. And, you know, the whole scene sets on her after he drives off, just focusing on her, nothing but her, just standing there all alone with no background or nothing. Just frowning and angry because he's so horrible. He's such a horrible husband. He's so patriarchal. Shame on him. Okay, anyway. Then we go again to now the merc, who's treating this main character horribly. He's like, okay, well, you know what? Sorry, but we had to reallocate our resources. I know we already made a deal, but too bad, so sad. We got to save a U.S. politician, diplomat instead. So you're on your own. Yeah, sure, okay. So I'm not the biggest fan of U.S. politicians, for good and obvious reason. Or any politician. In fact, we used to have a saying not too long ago. How do you know if a politician is lying? They are moving their lips. Whatever happened to that mindset? But anyway, so yeah. The guy's like, you know, giving his own money. He's saying, okay, well, you know what? You're not helping me. I'm gonna go anyway. And he's like, okay, well, we'll halfway help you. And he runs into trouble later. And he finally finds the Arab translator. Of course, with some help from what turns out to be also family members of the U.S. translator, but also aiding terrorists. And so now he has to, again, be at the mercy of the terrorists to get anything done. Give me a break. And so, yeah, what's weird is that they also portray this Muslim guy who looks like a Orthodox Christian monk. A little subliminal there. I don't know. I mean, this is a climactic point. Something bad happens. There's betrayal here by the Muslims, and naturally, there's this Freudian, subliminal, Pavlovian moment here. Okay, so now that brings us to where the main character is greeting Ahmed's wife with Izlame-ick, or whatever it is they say. Yeah, so naturally now the main character has to appeal to these Islamic customs. He's going to recite this? No. They all speak English. He could have just said, peace be with you, something Christians traditionally said, and so that was stolen by the Muslims, of course. You know, anything good about Islam, the parts of it that are similar to Christianity. Any good Muslim is a deviant of Islam. That's a fact. But yeah, so now this guy has to, you know, say Assalamu alaikum for what? So finally, the only decent scene of the movie, really, is when we get to see the U.S. soldiers come in and save the day. Of course, treating this guy like a leper throughout the entire story, especially the interpreters. But yeah, so now we finally get to see some Muslim terrorists get lit up. Hallelujah. I mean, God forbid we have to resort to that. But throughout world history and current events throughout the world, it unfortunately becomes quite evident that the only way to stop some that are absolutely hell-bent on serving Satan and destroying either Christians or agnostics, those that are lukewarm and confused, and even other Muslims and Buddhists and so on. They destroy everyone. Islam does. Just like communism did. Just like Nazism did. They're all the same kind of fascist evil. And of course, the coup 19 luck down was the same kind of digital mind game tyranny. Diabolically backward. All of it is. All this anti-Christian stuff. They all, quote-unquote, show solidarity with one another while they sit there and devour each other. Just like Revelations portrays. No coincidence here. Oh, by the way, it's called the Angel of Death, this air vehicle that lights it up. Which begs the question, what did Biden, the U.S. president, leave behind in Afghanistan? Why, and why did it make him so powerful? Horrible, to say the least.